First of all, nice to see you all one more time, and I hope you guys have made some progress from your previous level where you were in Salesforce, and you are planning ahead to build your Salesforce career or taking steps to build your Salesforce career because the market is going very good. So, coming back to the agenda of today's session. So, as per the promise that we uh, had in the past, that we will be taking such sessions for free, which generally people in the market don't teach. So the plan will be to ensure by learning these kind of things, you guys will be able to get some additional knowledge as compared to whatever money you have paid for previously for admin developer whatever. So as compared to that, you should be getting something more knowledge as compared to other institute students or other trainer students. So this way you will be having some good impression in the interview, and with this knowledge you will be getting more chance, additional chance for getting placed, because the things like lightning and migrations and these kind of things are very important, and the concepts like lightning are hotcake in the market. So for that reason, we will be here learning and understanding the importance of these all things in the bonus topic. So if I mention agenda, what will be the today's agenda? Then first of all, one, we will be understanding introduction to lightning, then classic. In fact, I have just noted them. Just I'm going to copy and paste because I have noted them. Just give 1 minute. So these will be the bonus topic in lightning. Now here, one important thing is to understand that this for this I have some video, okay, of my previous session which I have taken. So to ensure that we will be having sufficient time for this activity, so we will be going through video of this. So I'm going to give you the video of this for this lightning activity, because we need some sufficient time in practical understanding of migration and all. So these points are covered by these two videos that I will be giving you. Okay. And anyways, what is the quality of the videos that you guys get. It will be like a completely clear and easy to understand process. Then 10th point, migration. Now this we will be learning migration in Salesforce, sandbox, change set, inbound, change set, outbound, change set, various deployment strategies, and sandbox refresh. These are all important concepts that you are going to see, that you are going to face in future. And anything else. Hmm. Then apart from that, we are going to see Salesforce mobile. Fine. So let's proceed. So these all things you will be able to understand once you complete today's session. So let me proceed ahead and start understanding or start explaining and so that you guys can understand how we are going to work on all these things. So let's start with the Salesforce uh, migration, or how we can do the deployment and all. So okay, so let's proceed. So first thing first, whenever we complete any Salesforce project, then every 20 days, 25 days, 1 month, we have a program of sending everything that we have done to customer, so that customer will start working on that. Anyways, you know very well that customer will not work on the sandbox that we use. So I hope you know that there are two things in Salesforce. One is sandbox, where you guys spend months and months and months so that the project will be ready or the requirement will be fulfilled. And the second thing is in Salesforce, the production, where actually customer will be working. Okay, so production is the area where customer will be working with the live data, or in fact, it's a live environment of customer where he will be working. The actual project will be going on. So our work is to just spend months and months and months in the sandbox to ensure that we are preparing or we are giving such a service to customer which is as expected, which is correct, which is proper. And once it is time fine, then we shift it to production. So to the process by which we send the project work or whatever activity we have done to customer is called as migration. And of course, this will be done every 20 25 days. So what we all do in this case, and what are the process that we need to understand, and let's see one by one how we can implement this. So for that purpose, first of all, I'm going to explain you a couple of scenario. So pay attention. Just a minute. I have notes on that. So just copy the notes. Okay. So I have now some notes ready so that we can save our time. So let's talk about first of all sandbox. So when we make payment to Salesforce to get the environment to work, we get a production. So we first of all get the live actual environment, the production the way you guys got on the first day of your Salesforce course. So that is called as production. Then we must not do our work directly on production, that you know, as it hampers the work of client. Yes, that's the reason we first of all work on sandbox. So we need to create first sandbox. So what is sandbox exactly? So it's nothing but the replica of production environment with some limitations depending on the type of sandbox. So what actually can be the possible limitation, that we'll learn just in 10 minutes. But understand, it is like a copy of production, and instead of working on production, we work on sandbox. So anything goes wrong, it will not make any problem to customer. That is the plan. Okay. Next. So, and in sandbox, we actually need to make implementation of any project work we do. Okay. Next. Now, understand one scenario. Okay. So by this way, you will understand lots of important things as a background for proceeding ahead. So pay attention. A deployment related real time scenario. Pay attention. Now just assume this situation. Let's say on 1st January you got a project. Okay. And on the 2nd January, client brought the Salesforce edition, of course, the production one, because that login is related to production only. Then next is on the 3rd January, sandbox created. Okay, you created sandbox and you started work. Okay, so how we created and all that we'll see. Next is on 1st February, the project is completed and deployed on the production. Then 2nd February, here onwards, client started using the project. Okay, so please note now here he asks client asks us that the requirements are complete and we can stop the service because now we got what we want. So this way your agreement is completed here. Okay, now let's say after few days, on 1st of August, client told some changes in the present code. He said let something is wrong or something is not working, or maybe some enhancement needed, anything like this. Okay, client told some changes in the present code. 2nd August, started working on production, and which is a wrong step. Now tell me why. So we got a requirement, client said do these changes. We started working on production, but this is wrong. So my question is why? Or let's say we started working on sandbox. This is also wrong. So my question is why? So select Shekhar before you type anything and let me know what you think. Some changes client told, we are working on production. That is also wrong. Working on sandbox, that is also wrong. Then where we should work, because there are only two options. So how we can give the solutions to customer? So please note why these both things are wrong is, first of all, if you see the production, of course we should never work on this directly because it is directly connected to customers live work. We should not take that much risk. Yeah, good. And for sandbox, if you remember, the sandbox current status or the kind of data sandbox is having is actually related to the 1st August. Here project is completed. So after that there was no work in sandbox. So sandbox is having the data related to the 1st August. Sorry, 1st February. So when your customer is asking you to change something, actually sandbox is having outdated data. Okay, so pay attention again, telling you one more thing. On the 1st August, when client says make some changes on the project that we finished or completed on the 1st February only, if you work on production, always it is wrong because you are going to work on the direct environment of customer. That should never be done, never. And when you are working on sandbox, that is also wrong because your sandbox is having the data, content, or everything as per 1st February. Because if you see here, the project was done. So here we deployed to production. So after that, we never worked on sandbox again. So please note, sandbox is outdated. Sandbox contents are outdated. So we are having the content as per the 1st February, which is wrong because from 1st February till 1st August, client might have done so many changes, so many data, so many requirements might have created, because also we can create sometimes fields or some kind of objects directly on production possible. Some minor changes are there which we can do on production directly, that also might have done by customer, because many customers can easily understand Salesforce after learning for few months or few years, and they also start working on their object creation, field creation. It's possible. So once you start work on the 1st of August, actually what you are able to see on sandbox is totally different than production. That is the reason working on sandbox is also Not correct. Yes, very good. And that is the reason what we need is we need to, now this is production for example, and this is sandbox for example. So here we need to take a fresh copy of production and take on the sandbox. We need to take a fresh copy of production and take into the sandbox, that is called as refresh or sandbox refresh. Remember this, taking a fresh copy is necessary. Otherwise, if you work on the outdated sandbox, then the content, setting, data, everything will be outdated. You will not be able to work at all. So, I hope you are clear that what is the importance of sandbox refresh. So here, so what we'll be doing is we'll be taking the content, everything from production to sandbox is called as sandbox refresh. When we need a fresh copy of live environment, we do this refresh. Okay, next. And when we send something from sandbox to production, then it is called as deployment. Okay, so when our work is done and we need to provide to customer, then we do deployment. Okay, so this is the difference: sandbox refresh and deployment to production. Now, as you are aware about sandbox, it's time to understand the types of sandbox as well. So let me just mention here. So we have four types of sandbox. One, the developer sandbox, developer pro sandbox, partial copy sandbox, and full copy sandbox. These are four types of sandbox. Let's talk about this and understand them in better manner because these are very popular interview questions. So, following are four types of sandbox. One, developer sandbox. Developer sandboxes copy only the organization's configuration, not the data. So, for example, in the production, you have 10 objects, 5 validation rule, or 6 workflow rules, and let's say 200 records. Okay, 200 records. Then, except the 200 records, everything will come to sandbox. Your validation rule will come. Your sorry, uh, here let me tell you one important thing. So here your validation rule will come, your workflow will come, your object will come, your application will come, but not those 200 records. Okay, so this is called as developer sandbox, which will not be able to take any data from the production. When we do refresh, it will only take the configuration items, that is called as object applications or any kind of things like workflow rules or any kind of things like approval process, etc., okay, but not the data. Now this you can consider as a limitation of developer sandbox. Next, you can create or load data up to 200 MB. This is the limit, which is enough for many development or testing tasks. Okay, just for testing, just for development, we use this sandbox. So 200 is sufficient for some sample data and all. And you can refresh a developer sandbox once per day. So once you refresh, the next 24 hours you cannot refresh. Next, developer pro sandbox. A developer pro sandbox will store up to 1 GB of data up to 500K records. It is otherwise similar to a developer sandbox. Okay, next. Partial copy sandbox. So partial copy sandbox are generally intended to be used as testing environment. They can copy configuration as well as some data from production. So this is something interesting here. This is something special here. Some data as well. So it can even take some data. that is in limited manner, not full. Okay. Next, these environments can be used for quality assurance. So partial copy sandbox we mostly use for testing purpose. If we have a big project deployment and all, and we have to do testing, full-fledged testing, then we create a partial copy sandbox. We work on that, or we shift the data in the partial copy sandbox, and testing team will do testing. Like this, we work. So also acceptance testing and all will be covered here. The sandbox can include up to this sandbox can include up to 5 GB of data, and you can refresh a partial copy sandbox every 5 days. Okay. Next, full copy sandbox. It stores a copy of your production organization and all its data. Okay. Now this is the special one, because if you see all data, so in short, it will be exactly the copy of full copy sandbox. Okay. Now there is a question asked in interview that the size of developer sandbox, developer pro, partial copy, all we know. What is the size of full copy sandbox? Now this is the interview question. What is size of full copy sandbox? So please note, interview question. Since it's an exact copy, the amount of data in the sandbox is the same as your production organization. Okay, so the answer is not fixed. You cannot say 5 GB or 2 GB or 1 GB. No, you need to say what is the size of production, that is the size of full copy sandbox. Okay, because production size can be anything. How much money your company is paying, that can be the size. So remember this important interview question. And by the way, this full copy sandbox is most costly. It is very costly, okay, than all the other types. You can refresh a full copy sandbox every 29 days. Once you take a fresh copy of production to sandbox, next 29 days you cannot do anything. It's locked. The option is locked. Okay. This is the reason mostly every 30 days in the real-time projects we have the refresh cycle. Okay. So every 30 days your manager will tell you that tomorrow we have refresh of sandbox, or he will send you email. So this you will get to see this kind of things every 30 days, because below 29 you cannot do multiple times refresh, not possible. Okay, this is the reason the releases mostly in real-time projects are in monthly basis. So every month we complete the specific activity, send it to production, and then once everything is done, take a refresh and again start for next month. Okay, this way we work. So please note, just for your knowledge, mostly partial copy or full copy sandboxes are costed. Sandboxes are costed as per full bill. Okay, so whatever is your full bill that you are going to pay to Salesforce, approximately 20% amount you have to pay for partial copy and partial copy sandbox, and 30% amount will be given to full copy sandbox. Just for your knowledge, because you are not going to pay the money, your customer is going to pay, but in case you need such kind of in case you face such kind of situation, then this knowledge will help you, and you will understand that how generally the sandboxes are costed. Okay, in terms of the actual or full payment you are going to make to Salesforce, as compared to that, this will be their area. Now let's talk about something called as chain set. In simple words, how actually the shifting is done between one sandbox to another sandbox, or one sandbox to production. Okay, so chain set is like a suitcase, and it is connected to the process of sending something from sandbox to production. Let me tell you how. Suppose, assume that this is house of a person. Let's say the name of the person is, for example, let's say Ashish, and let's say this is the house in India. So let's say Ashish got a job in Salesforce in USA. So what is the situation? He took one house on rent in in USA, and he sent everyone in his family to USA to that house. And he is right now in India for some formalities from some government document work and etc. And let's say it will take some more days for him to go to USA. So meanwhile, all the remaining stuffs he would like to send because it's time to make the house empty, which was taken on rent. So what he did, he prepared one suitcase, okay, and in that he added everything, the clothes, the books, or the papers, whatever, just remaining things. He added everything. Let's say mobile charger, okay. Let's say bed sheet, everything, okay, and he sent it to USA by air mail, or let's say by air courier. Now here, his family members, what they did. So here, by various ways, by hall, he took the book. From bedroom, he took the bed sheet. Let's say from kitchen, he took some kind of, let's say, vessels which he kept for his cooking. He kept into the suitcase. And same here, his family members will take out from suitcase, and the vessel will go to kitchen. The bedsheet will go to bedroom. The note, the reading book will go to reading room, like this. Okay. So the way this suitcase played an important role, where from various sources, from various areas of the India house, the items went to suitcase, and from that suitcase, the items went to various rooms of USA house. Exactly same way the chain set work. So when you are going to, let's say this is your sandbox. So from sandbox, from various ways, the items will come into that suitcase. Let's say from this area, object is coming, this area, application is coming, in this area, workflow rule is coming, and this will be added here. And then on the production, in the list of object will be added. In the list of application will be added. In the list of workflows, the workflow will be added. So this way, the way this suitcase worked, same concept in Salesforce we have called as change set. Okay, so it's like a suitcase that will help you to do the shifting. So let's talk about that. Change set helps us to transfer the items from sandbox to production, where all the entities will be added to change set by a person at sandbox, and this change set will be received by a person from production. So here the person at sandbox is, let's say, Ashish, and the person at production is, let's say, his wife or family members who are present in USA house. Okay, so there are two types of change sets: inbound change set, outbound change set. Okay, now pay attention. Now the change set which Ashish created, or we created at sandbox, we are sending outside. We are sending outside. The change set which we created on the sandbox, we are sending it to outside. So this is called as outbound change set. And the change set which actually the people at production, or let's say family of Ashish in USA receiving, they are taking that suitcase or courier or change set inside their house, inside their house. So it is called as inbound change set. So the suitcase is same, the chain set is same, but the situation is different. Ashish sending outside, family taking inside. So this way, this same suitcase will be called as inbound, outbound. To be precise, this chain set is called as inbound chain set and outbound chain set. Okay, depending on the situation, it will be called. Next, now agenda. How to migrate to production in Salesforce from sandbox environment to live production environment. Now we are going to see some hands-on activity where I'm going to show you how actually we can send some content to production. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a kind of mini project, kind of content on sandbox, and then I'm going to send it to the production. Okay, so how it will happen, how it will take place, let me tell you one by one. So first of all, what I'm going to do is, first of all, what I'm going to do is we are going to buy or get a paid environment of Salesforce having minimum one sandbox. Okay, that I have arranged. Okay. So next, now we will log into production. Okay. So let me do that. Just give 1 second. So let me just do that 1 minute. I was on the mute. Let's proceed. So now we need to log into production. So what I'm going to do now here, I am going to log in to my production environment. Just give 1 second. Just give 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to log in to my production environment. Okay, and then click on login. So it's asking me verification code. Just give 1 second. Just 1 minute. Let me check my email. Okay, I got the code, and let me just copy and paste. So code pasted and click on verify. So let the login happen. Then I'll show you everything about that. Just wait a minute. Just wait for 2 minutes. Okay, so I logged into the production environment. Okay, so now let me do one thing. So you can now see here, I'm going to set up. Okay, so first of all, this is production environment, and we need to now go to the setup option. So just click on setup, and in the setup, now if you see, this is the area, this is the area which you will which you will never get on the development environment which every trainer in the industry use. That is the reason no one teach this sandboxes, deployments and all, because these options are not available in the developer environment. Okay, so let's work on that. The first thing is to create the sandbox, because we don't have any sandbox by default. So what we do, click on sandboxes, click on sandboxes, and then here it will show you the available sandbox in your environment. Okay, so you can see here, these are the available sandboxes in the environment. Okay, so now just here check on the availability and click on new sandbox, so that we can create a sandbox. Click on new sandbox. Okay, now give any name to the sandbox. So what I will do, I will give the name sandbox 2. Okay, now once it is done, Then here the same information which we discussed, the information about sandbox, what sandbox can do and all the types of sandboxes, and then at the end, wherever you see the next button, only that sandbox you can create. Okay, so just click on the next button below developer sandbox. Okay, click on developer sandbox. So I pressed on, so press on next button, press on next button, next. In the next page, Salesforce will ask you this. So Salesforce will say, okay, now I will proceed to create a sandbox. But if you want to run any Apex class, as soon as you complete your sandbox creation, then mention the Apex class name. Salesforce says you mention any Apex class here. So as soon as you complete any sandbox, then one class will be executed as automatic way. Okay, but generally we don't create in real-time project also, unless you want to just perform some activity, let's say for example informing a mail, or let's say sending email, or let's say by processing some kind of code. It is generally in this case we use, but in real-time project it is not so popular to call any class once sandbox is created. So click on the create button and your sandbox will be created by this way. And you can see sandbox is created. So you can see here this sandbox is in pending state. It's in pending state. So sometimes it takes time to prepare the sandbox, sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, depending on the load of server. Okay, so for that reason only I already created one sandbox in the same process, and now this sandbox we will be using. Okay, because this sandbox will take lots of time and we cannot wait for 2-3 hours. Okay, so this way sandbox creation is done. Now how to log in? Now I can log in by this button also. I can press on login, I can log in by this way also. But I want to show you the process by keeping the both windows open. So I'm going to show you the other way, which is more important way for you guys to log into Salesforce Sandbox. So pay attention, some important steps before that. So till this point what we have done, get paid environment of Sandbox having minimum Salesforce having minimum one sandbox done, log into production done, create a sandbox done, and log into sandbox done. In fact, we are going to do that. So now log into sandbox pending. How to do that? Just assume, just assume, let's say the production login is something like this. Okay, let's say this is the URL that you know very well. This is the URL we always use for production. Then let's say any user ID. Okay, any username. Let's say for example, let's just say, let's say, okay, something like this. Let's say this is my production ID. Okay, this is my production ID, and let's say this is password. This is password. Okay, this is password. Fine. Now very simple, my sandbox URL will be test.salesforce.com. Okay, this will be the sandbox URL, and then the user ID will be something like this. So the user ID will be something like this. Let me just copy. Let me just copy this, copy, and here paste. Okay, so now this way I entered, and here also note one thing, just here assume sandbox name is this sandbox one, something like this. Okay, so here I'm going to replace one. That's it, simple. So you can see the URL will be login.salesforce.com, here test.salesforce.com. User ID here is this. So here will be exactly this, and at the end we will be having the name sandbox one, and the password will be exactly same. Okay, so this is how exactly we log in to the production environment. Okay, fine. So now the same process I'm going to follow. I'm going to log in to my production sandbox environment. So the sandbox name which we are going to use is sandbox one, which is already created. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open another browser, that is Chrome. I will be opening another browser called as Chrome, and in the Chrome I'm going to type test.salesforce.com. So just wait a minute, let me first of all open the browser and then show you. Okay, so see at the top test.salesforce.com. Okay, and I am now going to proceed with that. So let me just, so now let me just copy the username, whatever is the username for production. Just give 1 second. So the username for production is this. This is the username for production, and I'm going to give at the end dot sandbox one, dot sandbox one. Okay, and same password I'm going to keep here. So look at this, how I am making a login. Okay, this is the user ID, and just at the end dot sandbox one, because I'm interested to log into sandbox one. Then password, which is the same like the production, and log into sandbox. So let me log in. So it's asking me verification and all, because I'm just using this first time, this sandbox. So let me just first of all check my Gmail. I got the email, and so verification code added. Now click on verify. And number registration, no, I don't want to register. Just 1 minute, it's logging, it's loading. So login done. Now you can see logged. So now this is sandbox. Okay. Now a question may come in your mind that Shekhar, the production looks same, the sandbox looks same. So what actually is the difference between sandbox and production? How to identify that? So please note, guys, we need to identify by this this black strip. This black strip, if you see, this is only available on the sandbox. So in real-time project, you'll be working side by side on production and sandbox. You don't need to confuse, because just you need to see at the top, okay, there is a black color strip, it means it's a sandbox. And what sandbox is also mentioned there, sandbox 1 or sandbox 5 or sandbox 20, everything will be displayed here. Okay, so understand this key difference between the environment or experience between sandbox and production. Fine. So we are ready with the sandbox now. So what we will do now here, we will just create a kind of mini project where we just create one, let's say, application, one object, one field, and this we will be shifting to production environment. Okay, this kind of mini project. So now you know very well how to create the application, how to create the object. This is not new for you. So let me quickly proceed ahead and create some application objects and all without explaining anything. So let me just do that quickly. One application I will create. So let's say, for example, one any project, let's say for example, hospital management application, something like this. So logo, then the tab we are going to keep like that only. So make the application ready, and now you can see my application is ready here, hospital management app. Okay, and now just go for the setup, and we will now create also the object. So let me do that. And how to create object, again, this is not new for you. Go to setup, objects, and all these steps. Okay, so let's say patient information, and copy and paste, something like this, and that's it. That's a patient name, anything. Okay, and the same process that we have seen already. when we started Salesforce journey. And then next, everything the same thing we already did in the beginning. And finally, the object I created, the object name, patient information, and which is the tab for that object. So the standard field already we have with the name, patient name, for example, which we are already going to use. The standard field, patient name. We'll create one more field. Let's say the type of issue or something like that. Okay. So let's say we'll create a quick list, and so type of health problem. Okay, we'll just add here. Let's say headache. Let's say stomach issue. Let's say leg pain. Anything. Okay, and let's say back pain. Okay, that's it. So click on next. Okay, just make visible for everyone and click on next. And that's it. So now your project is ready. Okay, so in real time situation, what difference you will have? One application you will have maybe 20, 30, 50 objects you may have. In total 500, 600 fields may have, but the process is same. So what we are going to do by one application, one object, one field, same with 10 applications, 100 objects, and 100 fields, same process. Okay, so now our project is ready. Now it's time to pack the suitcase the way Ashish did. It's time to pack the bag and send it to USA. In short, we will be going now to this area. See here, now we will be going to this area. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we are going to proceed for packing the bag. So for packing the bag, right now we are on sandbox and pack and send it to production. Our project is done, testing is done, everything is done, and even customer did the UAT, user acceptance test, everything looked fine. Now we need to send it to production. My question for you all is, what option I should go for now among these four? What should be my next step? Where should I click now as a next step? Yes, very good. Any more correct? Any more answers? Fantastic, very good. So we should be going to the outbound change set. Okay, one wrong answer we got. We need to go for outbound change set because from sandbox we are sending to outside. We are sending outside. So we need to create outbound change set to send something outside of sandbox. So click on outbound change set. So see here, from the current organization, if you are sending something to other organization, then it's called as outbound. And from connected organization, if you are taking into the current organization, it's called as inbound. And change set is nothing but customizations to components such as apps, objects, reports, emails, whatever you want to send. Okay, so now it's time to go for the next button. Just this is the information given. Okay, so now see, Salesforce is here ready with sending something from sandbox 1 to connected organization. Okay, now the problem is the first of all the problem is there is no connection made between sandbox 1 and production. So that is possible by this deployment setting. So you must make a connection first of all to send something to production. That is very mandatory. Okay. So just do one thing. Click on deployment setting and let me tell you how you can make a connection between sandbox and production. Okay. So if you see now current situation, it shows very clearly that there are two things where we can connect from the sandbox one. One is production and one is sandbox. So please note we can even send data from sandbox to production and sandbox to sandbox. Okay, that's the reason it is showing two connections, but both are broken. Both connections are broken because we never created any contact between them. That is what we need now. So we need to click now the first option. There is a edit option in the first column. Please click on edit because we need to create the connection between sandbox and production. So see now the broken environment right now, how it will be now connected. Let me show you the steps that we need to follow. Click on edit. Now here you will see some kind of check boxes. Okay, so you don't need to make some kind of agreement between production and sandbox that what we can do, what we cannot do. So you can just come to this option, select all the check boxes. That's it. So allow inbound change set from production. We are allowing the change set to come on the sandbox. Save it. So it is loading. So it's loading. Just wait, and it will complete. This activity is a kind of a slow activity, making connection. It will say it will take some time, and it will be a bit slow as well. The change sets and all. Okay, so you can see now the current situation from production. We can take something to sandbox. So one directional communication is done. Now go to the production and do the same thing. Now going to the Firefox. Firefox is my production. Just come down and here again here also I'm going to click on deployment setting because I need to make connection between the production and sandbox. That is the checkboxes I need to click simple. Nothing else. I'm just going to click on checkboxes. So click on deployment setting. So let the page get loaded and I'm going to show you now the checkbox which is pending from production. It's just selection of checkbox, nothing else. Making connection is nothing but selection of checkboxes. Okay, so now I am on production, and here this is the current situation. I am on the production, so I am going to now click on edit option. Click on edit option, and you can see here this is the situation. Okay, so just select this checkbox and press on save. Just select this checkbox and press on save. So both way the communication will take place. Click on checkbox and press on save. That's it, done. So connection is made. Okay, now if I go to the sandbox and if I show you what is the current situation, then you will see that the connection is properly set. So you can see current situation is this. Okay, so this is the current situation, and now both way communication can be done. Both way communication is possible. Okay, now we are ready. So let me tell you now what we have done till this point. So the steps, let me just show you and explain you what we have done till this point. It's a long process, so you should be able to understand everything. So we logged into Sandbox, then start working on and complete your project on Sandbox that we have done. Then get tested by testing team. It is done. Get tested by end user UAT. It is done. Once all fine, plan to send all these things to production so customer can use these in live environment. That is also done. Okay, once all fine, plan to test the production. So now this is possible only if we make the connection. So make a connection between sandbox and production, and that we have done. So here you need to worry about making request or forming connection between sandbox and production, not vice versa. But if you select both, also fine. Okay, so to make it simple, just let me remove this because this is not even necessary. So just make a connection between sandbox and production. Okay, next, then then send a request from sandbox production to send the configuration. Okay, now here what we are going to do is the activity which we have done, connection is made, so it's time to create now here the activity by which we can send and request the configurations. Okay, so pay attention, make a connection between sandbox and production. Now this is done by just clicking the checkbox. Okay, that's it. So send a request from sandbox production and to send the configuration, or in simple words, let me modify. So log in to sandbox, check the checkbox, okay, and log into production and ask concerned person on the production to accept the request by clicking checkbox. That's it. Nothing we are done. Okay, just checkbox. So the connection is made. Now this is your current situation. We are at this situation. Okay. Now what we need to do? Now we need to prepare a change set. Create a change set for sending configuration from sandbox to production. So my question is, what type of change set I should select or create on sandbox? Can you tell me? Now it's time to prepare the suitcase and send it to production. So what kind of suitcase I can select? Yes, the outbound change set. So sandbox, go to sandbox, and now we will click on outbound change set because we are ready now to send our content, the suitcase, to production environment. So click on outbound change set. And by the way, guys, first of all, we will, this is the, if it is a production, then at production we are going to show interest on inbound change set if it is a production, and if it is a sandbox, then we are going to show interest in outbound change set. Okay, so now it's time to proceed and start the work. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to first of all click on the outbound change set. Then click on new button. Then write any name which you want to write. So for example, now generally what we do, we mention the date. Okay, we mention the date and of the sign of this change set, or we simply mention the version. So we mention here, let's say hospital management version 1.1, something like this. Okay, so this is how actually we write the change sets, and we mention in the description sending contents like, let's say, app, objects, field, this we write, and all, or also we mention the sprint, let's say October 2007, something like this. So we mention actually for which release, for which activity we are sending this. So sprint is nothing but a kind of agile process concept where we work on some project with some agile uh, activity. This is not a part of Salesforce, it's a part of project management. But now, as in the industry, almost everyone use agile process, so this will be the useful word for you. So every month we have a sprint by which we just send some content to production. Okay, so let's say this is for October month, I'm just mentioning. So I'm just giving you the idea how we guys work in real-time projects. So this way you guys will also be ready with this kind of understanding. Click on save. Okay, so your suitcase is ready. But right now this is empty suitcase. This is empty. There is nothing. So what we need to do now, we need to pack something in the suitcase. We need to add something in the suitcase. So how we can do? Now there is a button called as add. So let me show you that the network is a bit slow, by the way, it's streaming a bit late. Okay, you can see add button. So click on add. So these all are the things which you can send from sandbox to production. You can see lots of things are there, workflows, or you can say field, let's say document, let's say dashboard, let's say button, app, like application, object, everything you can send it to production. Okay, so let me first of all select application. So click on this and I'm going to select application. So click on add to change set. So right now in my change set application is ready. Okay, now click on add. Now we need object also, field also, right? So click on add and select here custom object. Please remember it starts from C, custom object, not direct object. Okay, so remember this. Mostly people get confused by not finding the object in the O series. No, it's not from O, it's from C, custom object. Select custom object, then the object which is present, you take that also. Then again click on add, and now we'll go for a field, so it's called as custom field. So in that field, one field is there which is which in which you are interested. So type of health problem, add to change set. Okay. Now once it is done, you just need to ensure what you all thought, what you all created is present in the suitcase. Okay. Next step. Now here, suppose you are going for any journey. Let's say we have some, you are going for another country for some office work, or let's say some meeting. And once you pack your bag, then what you do, you just check with your wife, or let's say your husband, or let's say your mother, that can you just tell me the checklist, or all the possible things, or all the things which I should have with me, just let to have a kind of cross check. Then let's say your wife, or just your mother, husband will say, okay, have you taken the tickets, have you taken the passport, have you taken the these documents, etc., etc., right? Like they will tell us one by one, and you just cross check. So this is the same process we need to follow now, by pressing on view add dependency. Here we are asking to Salesforce that please tell me that what all ideally I should have in my suitcase, and which I'm missing right now. Okay, just click on that and Salesforce will tell you if you are missing anything. Okay, now let the page get loaded. So you can see now Salesforce is saying these are the things you are missing, and the information is list view to see the records, the list of records, tab to click on the tab. So this is the tab we are missing, and page layout also necessary, which you are missing. So Salesforce saying all these things are missing, you must take it. Now in this step, mostly you should not use your brain. You should simply select everything what Salesforce is saying. Otherwise, we need to be ready for some sure error. Error will come once we go for production, because Salesforce will say things are not complete. Okay, so without using our brain, simply select here all and click on add to change set. Simple. So whatever Salesforce advice, just take it. So now my suitcase is having these all important things. Now another important thing is, along with these configuration items, we also have a best practice in the industry to even pack the profiles and send the profiles to the production. Even we have such kind of plans. Okay, so here now you just click on add profiles, and we send it to them to production as well. For example, let's say there is a profile called as finance profile. To that profile, we said this hospital management application should be, let's say, visible. Okay, this I made. But when I will send this hospital management to the production, then in the production, this option will not be available. Why? Because whatever you have done on sandbox. In production, you have not done this. So the best practice is, along with this, you also send all the profiles which is present in sandbox, their current setting, whatever you have done. So click on add profile. That is one more best practice we follow. Click on add profiles. Then select all the profiles. We send all the profiles. And now your suitcase is like this. Your suitcase is like this. It's having all these contents. Okay, now it's time to send this suitcase to production. So now you can see there is a button called as upload. So you need to click on now the upload button. So click on upload button. Now Salesforce is saying, Shekhar, right now you have only one entity to which you can connect. That is production. Because you know very well, there is one more entity called as sandbox 2. But we never made any connection with sandbox 2. So it will definitely not come. We have only one entity which you can connect to production. That is correct. We want to connect to production only. Click on that radio button and click on upload. Okay, now the uploading is currently in process. So please note now what will happen from my sandbox. The content will go to cloud of Salesforce servers. From that cloud, it will go to the production. So you can see upload is in process. So what will happen right now? Sandbox, it will go to the servers of Salesforce, and from that, it will go to production. Okay, so right now this process is in it's like it's sending is done and the genset is available now, but the genset will be active after some time only. It will take some time, it will not immediately active, so that will take, let's say, a kind of 5-10 minutes. So we will come back after 10 minutes and then we will continue this journey. Okay, so till this point, anyone is having any question? Till this point, anyone is having any question? Please type clear in the chat box if you are clear. Please type clear in the chat box if you are clear. Fantastic. So we will come back after 10 minutes because this chain set will be ready, but it will not be available. So let's come back after exact 10 minutes. See ya. check if the situation is available by which we can just deploy the things. So let me now just check if it is available, and then we will be working on that. Just 1 minute. Okay, fine. So it's available. So now let me do one thing. So our current situation is we right now send the content or material or what all the things we need to send to the production. So now we need to just we have created the change set for sending configuration from sandbox to production, that is done. And now as we are sending things from sandbox to production, the change set type will be outbound change set for sandbox, inbound change set for production. So now just add component we have done, view dependency we have done, add them to the change set, and then add profile also done, add target environment, that is also done. Now it's time to just upload. It's time to upload. Now go to production and check the inbound change set. So now the production environment is this. I logged into production environment, and you can see now here in the production I am going to click on inbound change set, because this way I can accept the work which is being sent from sandbox environment. So click on inbound change set, click on inbound change set, and then in the inbound change set we will be having that option available. So let me just show you that. So if you see here in the inbound change set, we have this option available. You can even see it's coming from which organization, and it is even showing you that where we can just who uploaded this, everything we can see here, uploaded date, everything we can see here. Okay, so now it's just time to click on the change set and deploy that. So click on that change set. Now here, once you click on that, you have two options. One is validate and one is deploy. Now here in validate and in deploy, please note what we need to do is, first of all, we need to always compulsory select on validate, because if you go for direct deployment and let's say anything goes wrong, then you're gone. Then it will be a big problem. So first of all, we need to validate, where nothing will be installed permanently. It will be done in a temporary basis. Salesforce will deploy just on temporary basis, and it will tell us is everything correct if we deploy it permanent basis. Okay, so just on temporary note, everything will be deployed, installed, and Salesforce will say yes, it was correct, it was good, it was successful. So then we can go for deploy. But if you see that things are not working properly in validate, then wait, go back to sandbox and see what is problem, what is the issue, and this way again come back to this production with new change set, again validate. So this way, until and unless you get success message, you should not deploy. It's a very big risk if you are going to deploy something on production with some issues. Okay, so we will first of all click on validate as per the best practice. So click on validate button, then it will start checking whether everything is correct or not and everything like that. So let me just show you. So let it get processed. So you can see now it is saying deployment started, and it is in process. So just you can just check and wait for the message what's going to happen, and something like that. You can even click on the deployment status to see what's happening, how it's checking. So you can see here in the deployment status, it's saying it succeeded. Validation succeeded. Let me show you. Okay, validation succeeded. And now, next thing is now go for the deploy button because everything looks fine. So let me go for the deploy button. Now here you have deploy button. So please click on deploy button. Click on the deploy button and same process. Now same process in the deploy also same process. Okay, so it's also showing the same thing, deployment status and everything. You can just click on deployment status. Click on deployment status. You can see what's happening, what is the current situation. And if you just see here, so it's showing you that it is also successful. Deploy also successful. That's it. Your entire Salesforce project is now on production. Now, let me just go for the application menu, and you can see now in the application menu. So see in the application menu, you can first of all see my hospital management application is ready. I am on production. I never created anything like hospital management, but still I got it. How? Because of sandbox deployment. So whatever deployment we did from sandbox, you can see hospital management application is here. And apart from that, the objects, fields, everything is available. You can see now the patient information object is available. Now if you click on the patient information, then also you can see so let me click on the patient information and click on new button. Okay, you can see everything is here. So whatever you created on the sandbox, each and everything is coming here on the production. So this is called as the deployment process. You can see we created everything on sandbox, it's on production. Okay, and one more final thing, if you just go to setup, which I wanted to show you, the sandbox refresh. So you go for this production, and in the production you will see the list of all sandboxes present. List of all sandboxes present. Let me just show you that. Okay, so click on sandboxes. And here, if you want to refresh, can you see here? There is an option called as refresh. So if you want to refresh, take a fresh copy. Let me just show you that. It's loading a bit late. Okay, so you can see here that if you want to take a refresh, a fresh copy of production, then you just need to press on this refresh button and whatever is the content on sandbox 1, everything will be wiped out and the fresh copy of production will come on sandbox. So this is called as sandbox refresh. Okay, so this way this entire process is explained. Now if anyone is having any question, please ask or type clear in the chat box. Everyone please type clear in the chat box. Okay, and great. And coming back to the Salesforce mobile point, so please note that in Salesforce, many times our customer may ask us to work and provide some facilities on mobile device as well. So in this case, please note there are two applications which are very popular in Salesforce, which your customer can take the benefit with the same username and password. So remember that for that process, we have one Salesforce application, Salesforce 1. So this is the application which is very popular, a Salesforce mobile application, which your customers will be using for sure. Let me just show you that. So for creating something for this or for making something available in this, you should be having the knowledge of Lightning. So by Lightning, we can create various components, and from that we can generate or we can bring something to the Salesforce mobile. Okay, so this is one Salesforce mobile application which your customer may use, and second one is Salesforce A, which you as an admin can also use for your day-to-day work. Instead of logging to Salesforce, you can even use Salesforce A as well. This is also very popular, but not for customer, for people like you and me. So that any user is saying that user is locked, please reset the password, or someone is saying that I'm not able to get this permission, or someone is saying that I need to just check with the current profiling or some kind of setup. So all these things we can do by mobile itself. A very very useful feature, Salesforce A for admin. Okay, so these two apps you may also come across, but if you want to bring something more in this app, then you cannot do by the way in the Salesforce A, but you can do in Salesforce 1, which is very popular than Salesforce A, but that is possible only by Lightning facilities, Lightning functionalities. Okay, so that's all with this today's bonus session. I hope everyone enjoyed the bonus session. Now, any questions, any queries till this point, please let me know or say clear in the chat box so we can close the session. So we can close the session. Everyone, please inform the chat box. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. So that's all with the session, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Now let's meet somewhere in future whenever you want to learn something new or something more. Till that time, have a great time. Stay connected on email. Any more questions, any more help, keep asking by email. Have a great time and see ya.